My friend, I'm so glad that you have joined us for another episode of Casa De Confidence. It is so great to be able to bring conversations to you with individuals who I meet through my worldly exposure here in the online world. And I really get so intrigued by their life, by the work that they're doing, but I really get fascinated with the story of how did they get there, their story of confidence. And for me, having these conversations allows me to grow, to learn from them, and to really be able to couch some of the conversations that we need to have in these world. Today, I have an incredible person with me because he can talk about a lot of different things. He also is the founder of SpeakerFlow and definitely someone that you're going to love getting to know. So, welcome to the show, Austin Grammon.
Oh, thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. Yep. Also, good job nailing the name. Almost everybody wants to put like a fancy flair to it and be like Gramon or something. And it's not. It's about the most like American way you could possibly say that name. So
Well, thank you very much because if anybody is listening, they know that I struggle with names.
we all do. We all
So
do.
it's like,
Yeah.
and even I have to celebrate every time I say someone's name, and I will usually ask, like I asked you, just to confirm, right? And then I mess it up in the recording. It's part of my charm, like I like to say. But I'm so glad that I nailed it. So
Yeah.
go me.
Go you for sure.
That's right. One of the things that I was reading is that you got married in Southern Caribbean, where you got married. That's one of your favorite places. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, yeah. We we knew we wanted to be married somewhere fun and
Mhm.
interesting and a beach sounded like the place and neither of us had ever been to that part of the world. We were like we should totally do that. Fun story though. We we booked the whole trip, like the family's invited, all the things and I don't know, a couple of weeks before it's actually supposed to happen, we realized like this isn't like getting married in the United States. Like, what is the process to
Yeah.
actually get married there? Like, what do we need to do to even make that
Right.
happen?
Oh my
So we did a bunch
goodness.
of reading, and it turns out that it was way more of a process than we were even able to like
Ooh,
really do. And so we were like, we're not going to be able to like legally get married. We're like, you know what? Doesn't matter. We're just going to send it. It's going to
that's
be
right.
a wedding, and it's going to feel like a wedding, and it's going to be awesome. So we did the thing. We had the ceremony,
Mhm.
but not official. It was not
Not
an official wedding
official.
down there. Yeah, and then we
Oh,
came home and we eloped and went to Vegas and got married in like a little neon chapel in
oh
Las
my
Vegas,
goodness.
just the two of us. And
Ooh,
it
very
was,
fun. Very
we
fun.
got to have double wedding.
My sister has two weddings. She got married in the little chapel in Vegas, and then she had another wedding that she did as a surprise. We were there for the christening of my nephew, and she after the christening, she comes out in a wedding dress. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So
Wow.
that
Oh,
was
that's
very
so
fun.
fun.
But I love this story. I think that this is an example of how sometimes we decide to do something, we're going with the flow, and then all of a sudden, not everything, not all the systems are in check. And rather than saying, "Oh no, we can't do it," or really beating yourself up, you ask, "Okay, well, how can we?" And if this is not going to be legal, right? How can we make it legal? And you just worked the issue, and I love that. I think that that's a sign of a crafty entrepreneur.
No, well, thank you. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
that's part of just like being a human, I think. Life just
Hmm.
throws curveballs at you. In the
Hmm.
Chinese traditional realm, Taoism is one of like their major
Hmm.
philosophical arms. And one of the concepts in Taoism is called Wu Wei, and it
Hmm.
essentially translates to something like effortless action. But the idea is
Mm.
that like when confronted with life and all of its glory and all of
Hmm.
its curveballs, you swim with the current. You don't
Yeah.
swim against the current. You
Yeah.
just kind of have to work with the situation in hand. And really, when you do that, life gets more peaceful.
Hmm.
Not that you don't run
Yeah.
into challenges, you run into equal as many challenges, but instead of having to like butt heads
Hmm.
with them
Yeah.
and fight and struggle, you just like work with the scenario at hand. And usually if you think that way, you can find the through lines that make
Yeah.
life just feel easier. So
I'm so glad that you said that. I have been a person that for many years, right? I needed to, this is how I wanted, this is how I like it, and very little room for movement. And then somewhere along the line, I realized that I needed to be flexible and I needed to go with the flow. And when I learned that, all of a sudden, it wasn't that my whatever the flow was better, worse, and it's what I was making it mean. That it's not my picture, it's not how I wanted it. But then I decided, you know what, this is how it's supposed to be. And I'm learning something. And as soon as I started to switch my brain, things just got better for me. And not that, again, things are perfect in life, but the experiences are so much richer. And I look at the circumstances where things don't go the way that I expect them or plan them. I look at them as these great learning environments.
So true. Yeah. It makes me think of Stephen Pressfield's idea of
Oh, yeah,
resistance.
that's
Like when
right.
you're
That's
not in resistance with things, things flow better, you know?
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's a choice. It's up
yeah.
here.
It's up. Yeah,
That's not a physical thing. It's something that every human being has access to. But
yeah,
the choice has to be made. And not that
yeah,
it's easy, but it's in
yeah.
our control.
Absolutely. One of the things that early in my marriage to Dan, handsome had husband here, he and I had a practice spouse. So of course, you know what happened in the first one, and you're coming into this new marriage with, again, your baggage, but also like you're going to make it work. And in the very beginning, when I moved here, he wears a size 14 and a half shoe.
Dang,
And
some big
he
feet.
likes to take shoes off random places. And when we first got married, at first I'm like, oh, I gotta put these away. And I would take them upstairs and I put them away, or I would trip over them. And if he left them in the bedroom, and I'm like, oh, can't believe this. And I would put them away. And then and I wasn't even complaining about the shoes once, but I heard someone say, I used to complain about my husband's shoes until my husband left or my husband died.
Oh, geez.
And one day I realized that I wish I could be putting his shoes away. And I thought, huh. And it was just such a switch of my mindset. So now when I see his shoes, it's annoying, but it's like, thank God. And I usually will say, thank God I have my husband today. And thank God for my husband. And it's really shifting again the paradigm. And that's been something that has been so helpful to me.
Yeah, man, I love that. I'm gonna take that with me. What a nugget right there.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I think,
Oh,
it goes right back to mindset and the way that we look at things. And I think that, the Tim McGraw song "Live Like You Were Dying"
I
that
love
comes
that
to
song.
mind here. Everything is different when you realize that even the hard things could be taken away. All of it could at any minute. And
Mm,
we think about the people that we love, but even in our own lives,
yeah.
tomorrow's not guaranteed. And so
Mm,
even when you're walking outside in the rain, if
yeah.
you are looking at the world through that perspective, you can be pretty grateful for the rain.
Absolutely. And I think that and I just had this conversation too with a client, that when we are looking for the gift, and whether it be in our business, in our relationships, or even in the world, right? And right now, not gonna lie, it's pretty much a dumpster fire out in the world. But we need to find what the gift is. Maybe there's the relationships or the communities that you're building, or really seeing things, or spending more time with your family and getting off of social media, whatever it might be, right? You can find the gift as long as you're willing to look.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to talk about, and I we could probably spend the whole time talking about it, but I also want to be. I have other questions as well. But you are into systems, and I love systems. I love processes, and I think I got to a place in which I learned to love them. I reported to the founder of a company that I worked for, and he was a statistician by trade. And when I was made head of the department, of a brand new department, he asked me to come and put together the processes, the systems that we needed to have. I had no idea. But of course, I learned, and now I'm an incredible fan of systems, processes, making sure that these are really the great foundations that you have in your business. So tell me a little bit more about how did you get here to have systems and the systems that you help individuals with? Because systems in our business, like invoicing, flow, booking, projects, all of those are very important.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole idea of systems has sort of been an evolution in terms of how we think about it. I don't think
Mhm,
SpeakerFlow has really been sort of the nest that's developed in.
mhm,
And when we started SpeakerFlow, I don't think that we really even had the language that systems was the thing at that point.
mhm,
What we knew was that most business owners, especially skill-based business owners. It's one thing if like you're already a systems person to begin with, and that's
Hmm.
like the business model. But the people that we serve at SpeakerFlow are speakers, coaches, consultants,
Hmm.
trainers, authors, podcasters, and
Yeah.
most of those types of people are highly creative. They're visionary types. They're not
Hmm.
so much like the nitty-gritty
Yeah.
detail-oriented type of person. But in 2025, well, 2019 is when we started it, but we're as entrepreneurs, we're always hearing about these like shiny objects that we can use
Hmm.
to make our business better. And right
Yeah.
now in 2025, AI is the thing that everybody's talking about. And I think that that's kind of like in this weird category of
Hmm.
systems. But, like email marketing and CRM, billing and invoicing, and the things that you mentioned, any business owner will like intuitively know that they should be doing things with
Hmm.
those just
Yeah.
because it's talked about that way.
Hmm.
But like the technical ability and also the interest in them that allows those things to be set up and organized and useful to a business
Hmm.
um, are oftentimes not present. We're not present. And that was the problem that we noticed was just that like there's these really
Hmm.
smart, very lucrative
Yeah.
businesses that struggle to take advantage of the systems that are
Hmm.
out there, the technology that's out there. And so we set out on a mission to like help people actually take advantage of these tools that are
Hmm.
out there. And
Mm.
over time, I realized that the technology isn't really the thing. It's part of it. It's a vehicle. It's a
Right.
medium in which you can get things done. But when we're talking about systems, it's more than just the technology that we use. And the way that
Hmm.
we define this is that a system is where people, technology, and process all come together. The
Oh, so
convergent
good.
point of people, tech, and process, that's a
Hmm.
system. And so, for John Doe, the business owner, he's the person, and there might
Hmm.
be a team of people that work with him. And then the technology could be it could be a stone and chisel. It doesn't even
Hmm.
matter. Like it could be sophisticated software, and that's like the easiest way, or maybe the most effective way, quote
Hmm.
unquote, these days. But just there has to be a mechanism to do things with, and that's what I mean by technology. But then the process is actually the most interesting part there. It's like, what do you do with it? Like, what
Mm.
are the steps that we follow that equal success
Yeah.
every single time? And so at this point, SpeakerFlow like is equal parts technology and process oriented. We're helping people like figure out how to actually do things with their systems, but not to make this necessarily about SpeakerFlow. But what I've learned is that if you can identify the people and the assets that you have available to you,
Hmm.
have a good tool, a good mechanism to do what needs to get done, and you have a clearly defined way of doing the things, a checklist to follow, if you
Hmm.
will,
Yeah.
then you can make the business repeatable. And most people can spend more time doing what they love and less time
Yeah.
doing what they don't like.
I want to unpack a little bit of what you said because, yes, this is the thing that I see with entrepreneurs. We are the attention deficit of oh, shiny. And for as much as I know the importance of systems and I can put them together because I learn how to, I tend to be more in that camp that if I allow myself, right, to be after the oh, shiny, I will. But the checklist, the systems, the consistency, my schedule, my calendar, is the thing that pulls me back. And I love that you also talk about, the people in the tech because it's not just me creating a checklist, but it's also how do that allows me to communicate with my staff, well, with my VA or with my our other manager and my husband. Like this is what we're working on. This is what we're supposed to be. This is the focus, and it helps to create a place where everybody can be on that same page.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, in the EOS world, the
Hmm.
entrepreneurial operating
Yeah.
system, Gino Wickman, for those of you that are familiar,
Yep.
they say that everybody's rowing in the same direction, or all of the arrows are pointing in the same direction.
Hmm.
And I think that to do that, like you have to be on the same page, and to get on the same page, things have to be standardized. And if things
Hmm.
are standardized, you've got yourself a system. So I think it
Yep.
all kind of comes back to that eventually. But yeah, to your exact point, I mean, like being able to do this is what allows a business to make progress and allows
Hmm.
the business owner to retain their sanity. And
Yeah,
both of those things are
absolutely.
really important.
Absolutely. And you know what? The other thing too is it helps us be accountable to each other. At least with my husband and I. Now he is a total opposite of who I am. I am a DI in the disc, very big picture. I'm very social. Where he, not that he's antisocial, but he's an introvert and he's very detail oriented. Now he's also certified in Six Sigma, so his processes is what he does. However, there's times in which he's not following the process. And it helps me like, hello, be accountable to what we're supposed to be doing. And he does that for me. And it helps us be able to, it has in essence allowed us to grow. And I think that for many individuals, putting together all these things in place becomes very daunting.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like I tell people, and by the way, we're updating our company wiki, the
Um,
how-tos in-house. And it's not easy. I have videos and written everything that I do because I wanted to be able to turn that over to someone. But again, you have to go back and revisit and maybe have someone from the outside come and give you insights that you are going to have blind spots to.
Yeah, for sure. If you like go deep enough with any of these subjects, what you end up looking at is something that looks like an org chart.
Hmm.
And I don't like to think of an org chart in terms of people. I like to think of it in terms of responsibilities. It's the things that an organization needs to get done. And I actually, if you go to speakerflow.com/resources, no download required. You don't need to give me your email. It's just visible for the world to
Hmm.
have. But
Yeah.
there's an item in there called the accountability chart. And it breaks down the whole business into three major pillars. There's growth, which are revenue
Hmm.
generating activities.
Yeah.
There's operations, which is about fulfillment. And then there's admin, which is like all the
Hmm.
back office stuff.
Yeah.
And basically, like you have to just dissect those major pillars into the things that have to be done to make money, to deliver the services that you're selling to people, and
Mhm.
to keep you out of hot water with Uncle Sam and attorneys and so on. uh,
Yeah.
and then if you've identified all of those responsibilities and then you document the checklist, the here's how to do this thing successfully, then you've got yourself a structured business. And then
Hmm.
I would say you take that one step further and you apply technology to as many of those areas as possible. Like let computers take as much of
Yeah.
the effort as possible off of human being shoulders so that what's
Hmm.
left is just things that are like explicitly for human beings to
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's critical. And look, your point about overwhelm or it being intimidating or whatever is so true. But I think something that we can always remember is the Pareto principle here. Like
Hmm.
20% of the things get 80% of the results. And so
That's
you don't
right.
have to go all the way down to the very nitty-gritty details. Like just
Hmm.
capture the broad brushstroke stuff, and
Right.
that alone will make such an impact.
Oh, 100%. I'm so glad that you talk about that because I think that, we're again that these perfectionists. I just interviewed John Lee Dumas. The episode hasn't dropped, but one of the things that I heard him say at a conference and then he again said it on the podcast is that a perfectionist is someone who's just a coward because they're afraid of taking a step. And I thought, "Ooh, okay, it's true though." And I think that for me, in the times that I've procrastinated or I've been a perfectionist and I don't get moving in something is because I'm afraid of doing it. And the more that we can just say, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to, have a framework. And as I go along, I'll, continue to contribute to the framework. It gets you that momentum. And that's really, I think, a secret to success for many people.
Yeah, I think I agree with almost all of that. There's definitely a tension here because like I think a lot of people that are entrepreneurs tend to have perfectionistic flair.
Hmm. Yeah, of
And I don't
course.
think that I don't think you can say it's entirely a bad thing. Like being a perfectionist means that you
Hmm.
expect excellence from yourself. And that
Yeah.
quality is a beautiful thing. Like that
Hmm.
being able to set the bar higher than other people is what helps us differentiate ourselves and all the rest of it. So that's a good thing. But too much of a good thing,
Hmm.
right? Like it can be taken too
It
far.
could, yeah.
And so there has to be this like tension, this opposing force to perfectionism, which is just getting things done.
Mhm.
Done not perfect is so real. Like it doesn't matter how great of an idea it is or how excellent something can possibly be. If it's not done, it doesn't matter. It's purely abstraction. And so you're right. I think that like ultimately things just have to get done and taking a step, even if it's not the
Mhm.
best possible step, is better than nothing. But I think that we
Yeah.
can not beat ourselves up for those perfectionistic tendencies as well, because I think in a lot of ways it's what makes us
Yeah.
successful as business owners. So it's
I
both,
agree.
you know?
Uh, Absolutely. And I'm wondering, when I think of all the different components and tech and things that we do, I'm curious for you because this is what you're doing in and day out and what you support individuals with. But for you, what is the one system, process, or tech that you could not live without? Like if someone said, this is the only thing you can do or have or do, what would it be?
Wow, it's so hard. Okay, look, I don't know if I could pick one, but I can pick
Okay.
three. I can definitively pick
All
three.
right.
That okay. And it goes back to those three major areas of a business. You have to be able to make money, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to deliver for your clients, you have to be able to take people's money and stay a business that's legally afloat, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the sales and marketing and revenue generation category, it's a CRM. And it could be a legitimate CRM, Pipedrive, Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho. It could be a Rolodex. It
Mm-hmm.
could be the contact list in your iPhone, but
Right.
a way to be able to keep track of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, especially in services, people are what matter.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to get lost in all of the granularities and the automations and like pick your favorite buzzword. None of it
Mm-hmm.
matters as much as just having meaningful relationships with people. That's it at the end of the day. So, some way to be able to keep track of the people is the first thing. The second thing is some way to track to-dos, and
Mm-hmm.
specifically to-dos related to like giving people what they've paid you for.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is Asana for task management. A lot of people use Google Tasks or Todoist. Use pen and paper. It doesn't matter, but
Mm-hmm.
some mechanism to be able to make sure that the things that you're promising people will get done,
Wow.
get done. And then lastly, you need some way to take people's money. And so
Mm-hmm.
that could be Microsoft Word and an invoice document that you send to people. It could be something like QuickBooks. It could be Wave, which is free. Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these different like
Yeah.
vehicles out there in that category, but you need to be able to take their money and be able to keep track of your books so that Uncle Sam stays happy. So,
Mm-hmm.
some way to track money and collect money, some way to deliver the goods when you sell them, and some way to keep track of the people in all their
Yeah.
flavor as it relates to your business. You got those
Yeah.
three things, you got a business.
Absolutely. And I think that, for so many individuals, when they're not tracking, right, who have they talked to? Who do they connect with? Who do they know? Or who has purchased from them? And what was the interaction with the person? It becomes harder to really be able to scale because, and I say this to my clients, we have to be able to, um, yes, we need to attract and get new clients, but the most successful people are the ones who have repeat customers. And if you make people, like Pat Flynn says, super fans of what you do, they're going to, you're doing this, I want it. I want it. But you need to know, what is it that you're delivering? What is it that this person had in there, and check the temperature of the relationship too.
Yeah, you can actually really like distill the whole customer journey from brand new person or somebody you don't even know yet all the way through to a repeat customer. Distill it into four categories. Lead generation, which is
Mm-hmm.
how you get names of people that you can sell to. Business development, which qualifies those people and gets them willing to book a sales meeting with you.
Mm-hmm.
Sales development, which gets them to buy from you or not, and account management, which is nurturing that relationship over the long haul. Those four categories, if you have a checklist for those four categories in your business, revenue will not be a problem. Everything
Mm.
else is just discipline and effort
Yeah.
and time. And again, those are things that everybody has access to. There's nothing magical about making money in a business. It's not even that hard. Like it just takes effort and time. And that's having
Yeah.
the patience and the grit to do that. That's not easy. But the
Mm-hmm.
actual like process of getting clients, like as long as you have something valuable to give
Yeah.
them, it's not that hard. And I think most people get in their own way more than their business or the market or whatever is in the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, we're always thinking like, well, if I had that, magic bean, it's going to happen. But I think that if you think about the resources that you currently have, and it could be pen or paper, or it could be that you have one piece of tech that you invested in, leverage that and say, okay, I know these are the things that I need to do. These four steps that you describe are incredible. And then say, great, money's coming in. I'm tracking my money, or I'm tracking who I'm speaking to, or I had this conversation. I didn't move this person to the sales from the business development. And then figure out, okay, what can I tweak? What can I improve on? And that keeps the ball rolling for sure.
Yeah, so true. SpeakerFlow made its first six figures doing nothing but emails, collecting referrals from people,
Mhm.
and LinkedIn direct messages. That
Wow.
was it. No fancy systems, no ad dollars, no SEO,
My
none of
goodness.
the fancy shiny stuff. Just having conversations with people that
Mhm.
have problems that we can solve. Not hard. Everybody has email, everybody has LinkedIn, everybody can have conversations with folks. It's not hard.
Well, now I'm curious, Austin, because you mentioned that in your resource tab of speakerflow.com, you are not collecting emails. So, how do you nurture people that are in your universe? How do you send emails out? When do you collect emails? And how do you do that? And how do you
Yeah.
move people from LinkedIn to actually the next step for you?
Sure. Yep. Um, well, the first thing that I think we all need to be on the same page about is that people buy from those that they know, like, and trust. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure we've all heard that at some point or another, but
Yeah.
people buy from those they know, like, and trust. So
Yeah.
what that means is that in order to get somebody to the finish line, you need to have taken them through a journey that will have them knowing you, liking you, and trusting you.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have the resources page on our website, that fits deeply into the trust part of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And no, to some degree, they can discover us that way. But most of the time, something has landed, has brought them to us, and they can go to the resources page and see there's 30 super
Yeah.
valuable guides and PDFs and tutorials and things that don't require an email. And it creates a sense of like they're just giving this all away. And that's the impression I want them to have. I want them to be
That's
mind
great.
blown. And you'll actually notice if anybody goes there at the top of the page, there's one opt-in. It's for the state of the industry report. It's the research paper that we produce.
Hmm.
It is so much effort. It's
Yeah.
insanity. So that one's gated. That one
Hmm.
requires an
Yeah.
email to get in. And that seems like a really small ask for somebody to get something that
Hmm.
literally doesn't exist and that most other industries make you pay hundreds of dollars to get a
Yeah.
report like that for. We also
Wow.
have another opt-in on the website called the systems checkup, which is an assessment. We need to get their
Hmm.
email, partially so that we can deliver the report that's built for them
Hmm.
afterwards, but also because it's part of our entry into the customer journey.
Right.
And you know what? When somebody comes through the door initially, we don't try to sell them anything.
Hmm.
We put them in a welcome series, which is an automated email sequence, which is us just dropping more value. We tell
Right.
stories, we
Hmm.
chat pictures of Taylor and I. All of our emails come from beards at speakerflow.com. If you're watching the video, you can tell why, but both Taylor and I have big bushy beards and it's like we try to just have fun with it and
Yeah.
just try to deliver as much value as possible, and that starts working the like and trust
Hmm.
side of this.
Yeah.
Um, the no side of it I haven't talked about yet, and that's going to come from a variety of places. We wrote lots of blogs. Our
Hmm.
blogs are all very, very high quality, people first,
Yeah.
computers second type of blogs. We did 150 episodes of our own podcast. We
Hmm.
participate in associations and spend lots of money at those associations so that we can be present and have our stuff there. And basically, that just lets people know who we are.
Yeah.
And by knowing who we are, they can come in the door and get delivered tons of value, and then we can love on them so that they like us. And at that point, they know, like, and trust us. And now we can have a sales conversation if
Right.
they have a problem that we can help them solve.
Yeah, and it makes it so much easier, I think. And even now, one of the things that I discovered in my business, and very similarly to you, if I meet someone at a networking event or in a conversation somewhere and they're struggling with something, I'll say, "Oh, let's jump on a call. I'll show you how to do it," or I'll send you my little resource. And do I collect emails? Sure, but most of the time, when I just send it to people, I just send it. And when that has happened, like my strongest clients have come from people who I build a relationship with, and when they were ready to take the leap to the thing, I was the go-to because who else had helped them all along, kind of doing the pre-work, or they understood and they got to know me. And again, this power of story is something that many entrepreneurs really undermine, and the stories are the things that really connect us as humans.
Yeah, so true. There's very few brands on the planet that can get away with an impersonal feel. Like
Mhm.
almost all of the world's most successful brands are the ones that emotionally deeply connect to its customer bases.
Mhm.
And you know, this reminds me of this thing that Gary Vaynerchuk, of all people, said a bunch of years ago. But he was talking about like the Taylor Swift phenomenon, what
Mhm.
made Taylor Swift so unbelievably famous. And one of the things that he cited was this like Twitter engagement that she used to do, where like
Mhm.
some geeky teenager in Ohio would create a tweet and be like, Taylor, will you come to prom with me? And she would reply and then
Yeah.
she would go. And like it was
Mhm.
crazy that there was this super prominent public figure like her that was
Yeah.
so famous that was willing to engage with people. And so the term that he used with this that applies to business is being able to scale the unscalable. It
Mm,
means you being able to take advantage of the skills and qualities that you have as a small business that big brands have a much harder time to be able to do. And almost always
yeah.
that comes to storytelling and
Mhm.
emotional connection and spending time with people. And it's
Yeah.
things that are really challenging to do with a really big business with very high volume. But if you're a small business, if you're somebody that's listening to this show, doesn't have maybe 50,000 employees, let's say the 10 to 50 employee realm or
Mhm.
something like that, you have the ability to have your people connect at a much deeper level than you would if it was a much
Yeah.
more transactional relationship. And that's what it all comes down to. It's
Yeah.
people.
It's
Again, like
people.
my whole speech earlier, people and relationships are at the heart of this whole thing, and you have to lean into that first.
Oh, 100%. So I worked for a national company, was a franchise company, and that's the company that I was saying that I build the systems and processes with the founder. And again, multi-million dollar company. We were in well, 40 states, but we had lots of different people working for the organization. And then I got hired by a competitor of sorts in New York City. And I had become very friendly with the founder of that company, loved the work, her passion. She's a former teacher like I was. And the one thing that I was very curious is how is it that I'm working for this company. We have a marketing budget that is huge. We are, spending money on training, research and development, IT. And here's this woman who, in essence, she was making more money than we were in New York City, which is one of the largest school districts. And I was so um, taken by this. So when she hired me, the reason she hired me is because she wanted to expand that in New York City into other states, and she didn't have the know-how. And the one thing that I realized that how she had created this huge momentum in multi-million dollar business in New York is as a former teacher slash school administrator. She was very connected with other teachers, administrators, principals. And when it came to her offering the services, she had personal relationships with a lot of people. And the people that she didn't have relationships with, she hired people that had relationships with them. So when it came down to who are they going to invite to come and do the workshop for the parents, it was either Lil or that company that's a big company, and I don't know, the kind of nice lady talked to me, but I know her. I've known her. I see what she does. I know what her dog's name is, and that was a big eye-opening thing for me.
Yeah.
Huge.
People
And
buy from those
that
they know,
was
like, and trust.
yeah. And that was the one thing that in moving right out of New York City, we kept. In every place that we went to, we built the relationships first and we created trust. And then we found the people that had friendships, that had trust from our constituents. And then that's how we were able to grow. But many people undermine relationships. And I see entrepreneurs that they struggle either with the sales or with the attraction. And I know that everything works together. You kind of funnel people in, but walk me through if someone is struggling from that initial business development call to bringing someone into a sales, what are some of the secrets that you can share with them?
Hmm. Care about them more than yourself. I mean,
That's good.
really, uh, so, for one, I think that more people struggle with getting to the first conversation than they struggle with from the first conversation to the finish line.
Hmm.
Most of the people that and this is just, the gospel according to Austin. This is my own personal experience and the anecdotal evidence I have from working with my clients. But most of the people that I talk to are like, if I can get somebody on the phone that has the problem, getting them to at least make a decision about yes or no isn't
Hmm.
the thing that's challenging. It's what are you doing to get that person to be willing to have that conversation with you to begin with, the
Hmm.
business development part of this. And to that, it's about standing out and separating yourself from the noise and giving people the love that they deserve. But you asked the question specifically, like, what can you do to help somebody get to the
Hmm.
finish line? And I think the real thing here is that to sell is not to convince. In fact,
Mm.
the Latin root of the word sales is to give.
Oh, so
Chew on that for a
good.
sec.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to make a TikTok about this and what I learned today.
Yeah, it's so
That's
wild.
awesome.
Yeah, but it makes sense, right? I mean, like people don't want to be persuaded to do things. They want to they need to get there on their own.
Yeah.
And so the reality is that if you're a service provider or if you sell products, I guess it doesn't matter either way. The reason that somebody would buy something from you is because they have a problem that you can solve. And if you want to sell something to somebody, all you have to do is ask them enough questions and learn enough about the problems that they have to where your offer just intuitively makes sense by itself. Like when I sell SpeakerFlow, I never want to feel like I'm telling somebody to buy something or making
Mhm.
them like feel like they need to. It's by the time that there's a question being asked about if we're going to work together, I shouldn't have to say anything. They should
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
get there on their own. And I've just guided them in that direction by asking them questions and helping them think about their problems in different ways. And look, here's the other thing, provide more value earlier on. Like one of my favorite people on the planet is Mr. David Newman with Do It Marketing. David, if you're listening to this, holla, I love
Ooh.
you. But he says treat potential clients like they're your clients before they're your clients. And I
Mm.
think that's so true. Like if you can get on a call with somebody and solve their problem right
Mhm.
there, maybe not all of their problems, but a
Yeah.
problem, then for one, they love you because
Mhm.
you've just helped them. But think about what's happening in their brain. They're going, oh my gosh, if they gave me that for free, imagine what they could do for
Mhm.
me if I gave them money,
That's
which is
right.
really the right thing that you want people to be thinking when they walk away from a conversation. So,
Mhm.
to summarize, care about them more than you care about yourself. Ask more questions and spend less time talking about your own thing and deliver as much value as early on as humanly possible and watch what
Mm.
happens.
Amazing. I think that, these are incredible reminders and frameworks that if we keep them in front and center, they can, really not only build a business, but build relationships that are collaborative and that can definitely make an impact in the world, honestly. And I know that sometimes, oh, you're going to make an impact in the world, but it really does. And the world doesn't have to be the entire planet Earth. The world is the people around you. That's your world. And sometimes we really forget that every action we're taking is is something that has like a domino effect. And we need to bring in that intentionality. I want to ask a question because I know that this is something that many of my clients have been advised at one point or another. I know that I have from business coaches, and I've done some of it, not great. But you talked about outreach on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit more about that because I get a lot of outreach, inbound outreach to me. And sometimes I feel bad because I can't reply to everybody. And depending on my mood, I'll go into LinkedIn. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why all these messages? So what's the finesse, the dance, that we should kind of adopt when we're doing the outreach in LinkedIn?
Yeah. There's a temptation with social media. I mean, with any outreach process these days, because it's so easy to get in front of people,
Hmm.
to be lazy about it and to try to go for maximum volume. And look, let's be real here, right? Like ultimately, when it comes down to sales, it boils down to math. If you do
Hmm.
enough outreach, enough volume,
Right.
you will get clients. It's just
Hmm.
math. Now, it's probably going to be very, very, very low percentages, but it'll still happen. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But most people want to get more bang for the buck, so to speak. And so to do that, and actually I feel like doing that makes you more in line with just your humanity, which is a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
But you want to stand out and you want to give people personal attention. And the best, one of the best examples ever just happened to me the other day. It blew my mind. And actually, this was not on LinkedIn. This was something that happened via an email, but it still made me so impressed. I got this email. And the subject line asked me for my opinion about a local restaurant. And I mean local. Like a 10-mile radius is probably the maximum that somebody would know about this restaurant.
Wow.
I still don't know how they actually figured out that like I was close enough for them to zero in on it. But they put that in the subject line. It's called Weller's Bistro. It's a German place. Weller's Bistro, best burger in Layton or not? And I was like, what is this? Like, did I put my name in a review or something? So I opened the email.
Hmm.
In the email, it was mostly like a pitchy kind of email. It was like, hey, this is what we're up to. We'd love to have a conversation. We love what you're doing over there. And then in the PS line, it was like, we needed to do something that would help you like see our email. And so it was a subject line. I was blown away by that.
I love
And I
that.
replied, I didn't buy anything from them, but I replied and was like, this is awesome. Good for you. I wish so badly
Yeah.
that I had the wherewithal to do that
Oh
research.
my
Like, that was
God.
awesome. And so
That's
I think like
great.
what it comes down to is standing out. And I
Hmm.
said earlier that like our first six figures came in a big part, probably a third, probably half to two-thirds of our first year's revenue came from LinkedIn direct messages.
Mm.
And those direct messages we tried to make as funny as humanly possible. And it's because,
Okay.
like, think about your own behavior, right? You get into LinkedIn, you have 20 messages. Most of them are all saying the exact same
Hmm.
thing. They're all like written by a robot, is what it looks like. And so we would like make fun of that. Like one of my favorite messages that we ever did was like it would start out in quotation marks and be like, "Do you want to make $100 million in your business this year?" Dot dot dot, and then be like, "Aren't you sick of these messages?" Me too, but like I would love to connect genuinely,
Yeah,
and if you want to do that, let's talk.
that's great.
And so like if you can make people laugh and make them feel like you actually care about them and that
Hmm.
you're taking a specific interest in them and that you're not just like blasting a bunch of
That's right.
noise out there, you just got to stand out, you know? And if you can stand out, look, the sales process, so easy to think of the sales process as like one or two really big moments that turn them into a client. That is not the case. The sales journey
Hmm.
is 100 micro moments.
Hmm.
It's all of these tiny little things.
Yeah.
Like with a LinkedIn thing, it's like connect with them on LinkedIn and add a note. And your very first thing that you can possibly get is for them to just click on your note. So, what is it that you can do or say in that connection request note that is interesting enough that they'll at least look at it?
Yeah.
And then if they've looked at it, what are you going to do to get them to just reply to you? And then if
Hmm.
they reply to you, what are you going to get? Another reply. And like
Yeah.
you want to break it down into like the smallest little baby steps that you can possibly get. And there's this phrase out there that says every yes will make it easier for somebody to say yes to you again. And so what you want is
Hmm.
like five little yeses that lead up to one bigger yes.
That's
If
right.
you can do enough of that, then eventually you'll take somebody on a journey, you know? It's like
So
dating.
good. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be listening to this episode multiple times because I think that you dropped a lot of really great knowledge. Now, you are obviously a reader. You talked about some of my people that I follow and read their stuff, but I am really, I guess, fascinated because one of your favorite books is Crime and Punishment. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I love psychological oriented books. Dostoevsky just, I mean, the dude knows how to write 50 pages about like one very small moment in time. So that's just a journey, man. It's just
Hmm.
interesting to see like transformation. And look, another one that I think is in that same sort of class is Les Mis. And Les
Oh,
Mis is
I
one
love
of
it.
my
Yeah.
more recent reads about just like redemption, you know,
Hmm.
and a lifetime
Yeah.
battle of trying to do that. And I'm fascinated by the human experience, and
Hmm.
so all of the interests that I have in the books that I read tend to have some flavor of like novel human experience.
Hmm.
And it's there's one of my favorite like phrases that you can use when you're like learning things is same statue, different angles. And the
Mm.
reality is like we're all living the same experience. We're all here. We're all having the same thing here on this planet Earth,
Hmm.
and all of us get to have these like unique, interesting perspectives on it. And the more of those perspectives that we can collect and these more unique experiences that we can have in our lives, the more complete we're
Yeah.
understanding the picture. I'm a dungeon crawler video game player. I
Hmm.
love those types of games. And in those games, you usually get a little map, and the map is dark to begin with. And as you walk around and explore, it lights up portions of the map.
Oh, that's pretty
And
cool.
yeah, then by the end of the game, you can see the whole map. And I feel like every time I read a book like
Hmm.
Dostoevsky or
Yeah.
Victor Hugo or any of these guys, I'm lighting up my map.
Mm, this is so cool. I love that. And I think that it reminds me that readers are leaders. And I know that that's not the accurate quote, but I love that. And I do believe that, even if you're reading a couple pages a day of something, it's giving you somebody else's perspective and it allows you to see the world from maybe their eyes and can help you think, I wonder, is that real? Is that true? Is that something that maybe I can adopt? So I love that you're sharing this experience now. Tell me more about where do you see you taking the business with your partner in what would you like to see? What is your big goal for SpeakerFlow?
Um, well, I want to genuinely, authentically serve the people that we work with.
Hmm.
And I want it to be like the smallest part of my life that I can make it. And I know
Hmm.
that sounds so weird. As like entrepreneurs, we get so wrapped up in fact, what I realized about myself is for a long time, I attached my identity to my businesses. And that
Mm,
was such a misstep in my
yeah.
my world. And the reality is I have two little kids. One is 4, one is 1. I have a
Mm,
beautiful wife that I love dearly. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah area in one of the most beautiful parts of the country with like the most amazing outdoors just like right in my backyard. And I love playing video games and I love reading books and I love my goal for SpeakerFlow is that it is able to continue serving people at the level that it is without taking any more time and effort out of my day than it already does because I want to do other things. It's just one part of a very
yeah.
wide set of things that I'm interested in life. And so I don't think that much
Yeah.
about it, honestly. Like I give it the specific amount of time that I allow for it, and I try to do
Mhm.
my absolute best with the time that I'm willing to give to it. And outside of that, I try not to think about it very much.
Well, one of the things that, especially after having this conversation, I know that you're really doing the things that matter in your business. And again, that 20% that gives you the 80% is very key. And as entrepreneurs, the other thing you just said is we need to separate our identity from the business. Now, I do believe that our business has to reflect our values, but if there's a failure or if there's something that is not going, we can't define ourselves by that. We have to define ourselves by the person and the integrity and the work and commitment that we have, but also by the person that has a life outside of being an entrepreneur. So, great lessons. I'm going to unpack a lot of this also with Handsome Hot Husband. You have been gracious and wonderful with your time. Again, where do people find you? I guess you're hanging out mostly on LinkedIn, or is there another place that people can find you as well on social?
I deleted all of my socials. I'm not present there at all anymore. God bless for those of you that are. But
Right?
if you want to reach out, Austin at speakerflow.com. Send me an email. I will talk
Okay.
to you personally. But a real genuine conversation is your only path to Austin. So
Amazing.
do
Well,
it,
we're going to
team.
have that information on the show notes, Austin. Thank you so much. And if you want to go get some of these wonderful resources, go ahead and go to speakerflow.com. And again, the info is in the show notes. And give him some love. Send him an email and tell him how much you appreciated this conversation because loved it. Thank you again, Austin. And my friend, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Go ahead and make your life flow. Bye,
Thanks
Austin.
a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.